we shall go. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me inside for our little tour. I hope you're going to enjoy. Off we go. And you'll now join me inside the Wolfson Gallery in the inner part of the church, and we'll see the discovery and excavation of the Archbishops Vault. So join me for that now. This is the Wolfson Art Gallery. They've got an art gallery in here. It isn't just a church, there's a lot. And here we are in the Wolfson Gallery, and our port of call, the little glass window in the floor over to the left. And that allows us nowadays to look down into the Archbishop's Vault. We're now going to in a sec see the video that covers the excavation of the Archbishop's Vault and what the archaeologists found and discovered when they went in there, which of course is pretty obvious. Dead bodies, pretty rich and prominent ones in their day. They would have been buried in wooden lead-lined coffins, quite possibly covered in purple velvet. And the wood has rotted away, and all you are left with now is the lead coffins. But as more people were added, this is a vault in the old style. Rather than having racks or shelves, they would have all been stacked on top of each other until the vault was full. So rather, when they made room for others, as the wood rotted away from some coffins, the wood would have been taken away and the coffins shuffled along a bit. But they saved the plaques off of the coffins, the coffin plates. So that's interesting because it does give some details about people that are in there. Also, another interesting discovery is a Bishops Mitre, a metal Bishops Mitre from the 1600s. Now that's interesting because this vault was built in the 1700s. That Bishops Mitre atop a coffin where they found it shows that earlier bishops were moved into this vault when it was built. Possibly other people may have been put in there too, including the Howards, bearing in mind that this is the Howard family chapel. Possibly even Anne Boleyn's mother, because Anne Boleyn's mother's legitimate slab, although it is very badly damaged and still present, it highly likely does not mark her original burial location, because as a Howard she would have been buried with the Howards and they buried their own together. But yeah, what we're going to see now, as I say, is the excavation video covering the excavation of the Archbishop's Vault. You'll see that, and you'll see the Bishop's Mitre in the excavation video, and also in my part of the filming of the video. So I hope you're all going to find this interesting, and off we go.
I'm Dr Julian Litton, and I'm a funerary historian, and I've been dabbling in this sort of thing for about 50 years. And now as flat as the day they were created. Beautiful. What I can use this for is carefully taking any dust off a depositum plate, which is the general word for a coffin plate. And then I can brush it with the brush and we can get the inscription. As I said, one of the golden rules of funerary archaeology is nothing is ever disturbed, uplifted or taken away. Everything is examined with the eye. There's no need to take things away because they belong to the people whose coffins they were affixed to. What we would have expected would have been a 17th century vault. But looking at the primary structure, it gives the appearance that it's a mid-18th century vault, and that's judged from the quality and style of the brickwork and of the bricks used. It's a large vault too. In old money, it's 21 feet north to south and about 10 feet east to west. But it was used in the old-fashioned way. It was neither shelved, and neither did it have any iron stanchions to support the coffins. Rather, they were stacked on top of each other. Quite an old-fashioned idea. 1830s or something, yeah. That's tin dipped. Heading for tin dipped. And it should be a lad. It's got no shield. We've just come out of the vault and we've seen that it's got 34 coffins in it, of which 32 are adults, 2 are children. It seems as though the majority of the contents of the vault date from the Restoration time, so it's from, say, 1660 up until about 1820, 1825, after which the Archbishops of Canterbury selected Addington Palace as a place to be buried. It would have been pleasant to have seen an outer wooden case, complete, covered in purple velvet, which was a prerogative both of the monarch and also of the Archbishop of Canterbury, but I'm afraid to say nothing like that. Now, the gilt mitre is particularly interesting. It has no relationship whatsoever with the coffin that is currently standing atop, which is an early 19th century coffin, because this particular mitre is something like 1675 to 1725. We'll know better when we've done some further research on other existing mitres of the same style, which are themselves dated. We think, because of the lack of evidence of outer wooden cases, that a fair amount of the outer wooden casewood was cleared away, although for safety's sake they seemed to have kept all of the external depositum plates, those are the name plates from the outer cases, which helps us to identify
St Margaret Betterworth, daughter of Dr John Bettersworth, whose plate was the first one that came out, Dean of the Arches, died October 1778.
So all in all, a very satisfactory vault, if vaults can be described as satisfactory. They contained not only Archbishops of Canterbury, but also their spouses, at least one diocesan registrar and his wife and two of his daughters. So all in all, I think a good result and an interesting group of sacerdotal individuals and high-ranking laity of the Church who are now spending their time together in earnest conversation until the last trump.
And here is that vault.
Was a collector of objects and natural curiosities from across the globe, which he displayed at his Lambeth place in the Botanical Garden, just a mile in. This was an age of exploration.
Here's that Bishops Mitre they found in there. Obviously the public can't go down there, but the lady says they've not even excavated like most of it yet, because it goes down that way, and she thinks it goes that way as well, so that'll be something to look out for of interest. Right, hope you all found that one interesting. Thanks for watching. And once again, it's nice to be able to put some faces to names, so to speak. Now, all the residents of the vault, they're not all identifiable, because as you see, some of the coffin plaques are stacked over in the corner, so it's hard to match plaque with coffin kind of thing. But the ones they were able to identify are these gentlemen and ladies and children you're going to see in a sec. And this is for a little bit of research of my own, reading Dr Julian Litton's notes, which I found really interesting, because I do find anything like this fascinating, I must admit. But yeah, these are just some of the residents who are in the vault. You've got Richard Bancroft, Archbishop of Canterbury, John Moore, 1730 to 1805, Archbishop of Canterbury. And this is interesting as well, because here are Dr John Moore's wife and children. There are two children's coffins down in there, but they're not connected to Dr John Moore. Dr Frederick Cornwallis, Archbishop of Canterbury. Matthew Hutton, Archbishop of Canterbury. Archbishop Thomas Tennyson, Archbishop of Canterbury. And John Bettersworth, Dean of the Arches, and John was also an ecclesiastical judge, and here you see him dressed in his judge's regalia. The children's coffins, one of them, as you heard the Dr Julian Litton reading out the plaque of one of the children's coffins, one of those children's plaque is a child of Dr John Bettersworth. So yeah, these are our residents of the vault, as Dr Julian Litton said, the majority of them are from the Restoration period, when Cromwell went and King Charles II came back in as king. But the vault is 18th century, so that shows that these archbishops would have been moved from their original locations, the earlier ones, and put into the new vault. Like this man here, I mean, he was archbishop from, he was alive 1544 to 1610, so he is pre-Restoration period. He's sort of Tudor and Stuart era, so he would have been originally buried somewhere else, probably within this chapel. When they built the vault, they would have taken him up and put him in the vault. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our little look into the Archbishops Vault, and we was able to actually put some names to faces, so to speak. Hope you all found this interesting, and thank you for watching.